I couldn't believe what I was reading. A story about a corrupt, unethical journalist? What country is this? Russia? This can't be. All of the journalists in America are perfect saints, doing the right thing, helping save us from the evil corruption. And then I saw the story. Yes, that's right. A journalist with Axios, tasked with covering the White House, was actually dating the deputy press secretary. Well, at the very least, Axios must not have known about this because they would have put a stop to it. Turns out they actually did know about it and they allowed this to happen. Okay. Well, it's not like the Biden administration was. The Biden administration was crooked too. Come on. We all know this stuff. If I did a video every single time there was something about unethical journalists, being figuratively in bed, and in this case, literally with the politicians are supposed to cover, it would be nothing but that would be the only thing I ever did videos about. Okay. We know they're crooked. We know news organizations are crooked. Not every single one, but many of them. But I'm sorry, this story was just too ridiculous. And I got to be honest, we need to talk about this. The headline is actually insane. But the gist of the story, the first story, was that Axios knew their reporter who was covering the White House was dating the deputy press secretary. Probably the worst conflict of interest in a long time. I mean, it's very serious. And they didn't care. The Biden administration apparently knew. They didn't care either. Now it gets worse because one journalist from Politico was trying to see, basically report what was going on, reporting on this. And then we get this headline, quote, "I will destroy you. Biden aide threatened a Politico reporter pursuing a story on his relationship." Okay, well, you know what? Corrupt people exist. And if these spineless losers of journalists would actually do their jobs, maybe we could nip this in the bud and weed it out. Now, I know. This is literally a story about a journalist doing just that. This I have respect for. This I have praise for. And I have nothing but condemnation for these crooked politicians and the crooked journalist who's trying to get away with this relationship. We need more of this. Too much of our news industry is crooked. I'm sorry. But this headline was just, honestly, it's hilarious. What do you mean? You're going to tell someone you're going to destroy them? Now, this story is actually really bad, and there's more to it. So let's read. Vanity Fair reports a White House official tried to quash a story about his relationship with the reporter by issuing threats and using derogatory language to another reporter pursuing it. According to two sources familiar with the incident, in a sympathetic profile Monday, People revealed that White House Deputy Press Secretary T.J. Ducklo is dating Axios political reporter Alexei McCammond, who covered the Joe Biden campaign. But behind the scenes, Ducklo had previously lashed out at a political reporter, Tara Palmieri, who was reporting the story, exhibiting behavior that led to tense meetings between the Washington news outlet's editors and senior White House officials. The confrontation began on Inauguration Day, January 20th, after Palmieri, a co-author of Politico's Playbook, contacted McCammond for comment while one of her male colleagues left a message for Ducklo, according to sources. Ducklo, this is the Biden guy, subsequently called a Playbook editor to object to the story, but was told to call the Playbook reporters with his concerns. But instead of calling the male reporter who initially contacted him, Ducklo tried to intimidate Palmieri by phone in an effort to kill the story. Quote, "I will destroy you," Ducklo told her, according to sources adding that he would ruin her reputation if she published it. I gotta be honest. Does that work? I've had journalists reach out to me. I just say, have a nice day. No, thank you. But does threatening them that you will destroy them actually work? I'm not sure that's even legal. During the off-the-record call, Ducklo made derogatory and misogynistic comments accusing Palmieri of only reporting on his relationship, which, due to the ethics question that factor into the relationship between a journalist and the White House official, falls under the purview of a reporting beat. He says that she was only reporting on it because she was jealous that an unidentified man in the past had wanted to F McCammond and not you. Ducklo also accused Palmieri of being jealous of his relationship with McCammond. Palmieri had no prior relationship or communication with McCammond before calling her to report on the Playbook item, which was a story that she was assigned and had not independently pursued. The following day, an editor at Politico reached out to the White House about Ducklo's threats, spurring multiple conversations between the news outlet and senior level officials on January 21st, including White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, White House Communications Director Kate Bedingfield, and Anita Dunn, director of West Wing operations. In one of those calls, senior White House officials acknowledged that Ducklow's handling of the call with Palmieri was inappropriate and said he would send a note to her apologizing for the comments. In another conversation, the same White House officials took aim at Palmieri by accusing her of breaking an off-the-record agreement with Ducklow and pressing Politico as to why the contents of the call had been revealed. Palmieri had only informed her editors of the contents of the call, which she had transcribed into her notes as it was happening after they asked her about it. All right, long story short, journalist is banging Biden staffer, and deputy press secretary. Another journalist says, yo, that's big news. That's corruption. You can't do that. But that journalist who said that was just told to report on it. So White House dude basically says, you're jealous. You're just mad that some dude wouldn't bang you and I will destroy you. By the way, this conversation is off the record. OK, well, look, the relationship in question, totally unethical, needs to be called out. So good on Palmieri for doing her job and exposing this. And who is this guy? I will destroy you. Are you nuts? Now, that's hilarious. Palmieri declined to comment. Psaki and Ducklow did not immediately respond to requests for comment. I would like to point something out. Did this guy really think that he could be like, oh, hi, thanks for calling, Tara. Is this conversation off the record? Yes, it is. I will destroy you. You just wanted some guy. Did you think that she was going to be like, I respect that, and I will not tell anyone it happened? You think, listen, off the record, first and foremost, doesn't exist. It's not a thing. Every journalist in the world will be like, this conversation's off the record. And then they'll go and leak it to somebody else. It wasn't me. Don't look at me. I didn't leak it. It's a dirty game. Off the record exists among people with respect for each other. But if you get a random journalist you don't know from one of these publications and they say, I'd like to talk with you off the record or just on background, say, yeah, nice try. Not going to happen. They're full of it. Now, that being said, I don't blame Palmieri for being like, dude, you threatened me and insulted me. That has nothing to do with a journalistic interview. They say when a series of calls between the White House and Politico had concluded, Ducklow sent Palmieri an email stating that he was sorry he lost his cool, but he did not delve into any specifics or apologize for threatening and harassing the reporter, according to sources familiar with the exchange. Politico reported on Ducklow and McCammon's relationship in Tuesday's playbook after it was first revealed the previous night by People. Ducklow's alleged response to Politico's reporting raises serious questions about behavior that is tolerated in the Biden White House. They're corrupt. They're corrupt. I got more stories for you. I'm not joking when I say this. Here's a quote. Here we go. Quote, I'm not joking when I say this. If you ever work with me and I hear you treat another colleague with disrespect, talk down to someone, I will fire you on the spot. No ifs, ands, or buts, Biden said during a virtual swearing in on his first day in the White House. Playbook highlighted those remarks on January 21st under the heading, Biden set standards for professional behavior, and asked, serious questions on our minds this morning. Does this standard apply to how mid-level press aides treat reporters? Joe Biden deserves to be roasted for this, and this guy should absolutely be fired. And so should this journalist. Axios journalist covering the Biden administration is dating one of the president's aides. What a disgusting, slimy, incestuous cesspool. That's the Beltway, my friends. That's D.C. Corrupt, corporate revolving door garbage. It is a swamp. Did Trump drain the swamp? Of course he didn't. He got rid of a lot of people, sure, but he was just putting other swamp monsters right back in there. I can at least say this. With Donald Trump in office, the swamp was kind of a disaster, and I can respect that. Plus, as I often say, there were things Trump was doing that I liked. But the point is, I don't think anybody's going to go and drain the swamp. They'll say they will, and they won't. Maybe they can't. I don't know. I don't know how you drain a swamp. Check this out. They say Politico shared the potential conflict of interest in Tuesday morning's edition of Playbook after weeks of investigations and inquiries to the White House about the relationship. Mere hours after Politico claims to have notified the Biden communications staff that the story fully exposing the relationship would be published, the next day, People magazine produced a glowing profile piece positively framing the couple's relationship and careers. People did not respond to the Federalist's questions about why they suddenly chose to run the story. Here's what they're saying. Reporter forgoes covering president as romance blossoms with Biden aide battling cancer. Didn't think twice. Look, I feel bad for the guy. He's got cancer. Okay, that's a serious issue. And so maybe he's just saying, I'm dealing with this and I'd rather be with this person than any professional ethics or whatever. Fine, whatever. Resign. Seriously, resign. No, that's it. Don't work for the president. Just stop. Just because you know someone who is suffering or sick doesn't give you the right to violate ethics rules or just be all around corrupt. They say, according to People, the couple began dating in November after working closely for months on the campaign trail. Both People and Politico report that it was at this time that McCammond, who was previously engaged to another man, asked to be taken off the Biden beat and shifted to covering progressive politics and Vice President Kamala instead for Axios. Even though McCammond and Axios claim that the journalist quickly switched reporting following the beginning of a relationship, she still breaks big news related to the Biden administration regularly. Corruption. Even if she was only covering Kamala Harris, that is still a massive conflict of interest. In December, just 1 month after she began dating the Biden aide, McCammond wrote a story outlining how Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms rejected the incoming president's offer to lead the Small Business Administration. In the self-described scoop, McCammond attributed the information she received to people familiar with the discussion. What this really means is the guy working for Biden was leaking stories to her that she could frame in positive ways because they are corrupt swamp monsters. They're not telling you the truth. They're not trying to properly inform you. They are funneling information to someone pretending to be a reporter who is licking the boots of Biden. They say that same month, McCammond also wrote an article based on a memo to Biden transition officials obtained by Axios and information from multiple people familiar with the situation that described the Biden administration's inner proceedings for cabinet picks, including a scoop that Gina McCarthy was a leading candidate for a climate position. More recently, McCammond wrote a piece about Harris's niece, Mina Harris, who began selling merchandise related to her aunt's image and political career. Citing people familiar with the situation, McCammond explained why neither Mina nor anyone else on the Biden team could profit from the sales. Politico also noted that McCammond joined an Axios podcast where she shared her view of the Biden administration as compassion and empathy and noted a focus on unity in a way we certainly haven't seen from President Trump. Despite the potential problems that McCammond's connections to the Biden administration could have on her journalistic integrity, Axios claims to stand behind McCammond and her coverage. Axios co-founder Jim Vendahel, however, admitted that while McCammond was not technically directly covering Ducklo, she does publicly reference him when she talks about him on TV. McCammond and Ducklo both deny that their relationship interferes with their political and journalistic duties. Quote, TJ has not been a source for any story I've worked on in any capacity since we began dating, McCammond told People. While Ducklo threatened to destroy another reporter, I think it is interfering. Check out how dirty this office is. You want to know what I don't care about? Here's what I don't care about. People mocking Jen Psaki's appearance. That's stupid. You're stupid. I don't care if she's wearing makeup or not. It's fine. She does her job relatively boringly. Many journalists have pointed this out. I think she is bad at her job, and I think she is crooked. And I'm not going to waste any time when I see these memes coming out. They're like, look at her. She's not wearing makeup. And I'm like, so what? It's so dumb. Makes me angry, okay? Pisses me off. But you know what pisses me off more? Look, I get it. People are mean on the internet. I'm not going to go cry about it. I just don't care. Take a look at this story. White House press office screened reporter questions to Jen Psaki. Oh, dog and pony show. Bread and circuses, my friends. You are being manipulated and lied to. While the Biden administration has individuals dating journalists to put out puff pieces, Jen Psaki is screening the questions because, well, let's be honest. She'll have to circle back unless she knows what she's going to be asked because she's terrible at her job. If you want to criticize her because she's bad at her job, please do it. You want to criticize Kayleigh McEnany because she made mistakes on her job? Yes, absolutely. You want to criticize Jen Psaki for her appearance? Stop wasting my time. This is a very serious story. They say the Biden White House press office has come under fire for reaching out to Capitol reporters to quiz them about the questions they'll ask Press Secretary Jen Psaki during scheduled briefings. The practice rattled members of the White House press corps who expressed concerns that they could be seen as coordinating with political staffers and alerted the White House Correspondents Association. Reporters in a Zoom call last week pressed other correspondents to push back at the White House's efforts to get the questions in advance or just ignore them, the report said. While it's a relief to see briefings return, particularly with a commitment to factual information. Oh, shut up, you morons. The press can't really do its job in the briefing room if the White House is picking and choosing the questions they want. One White House reporter told the website, that's not really a free press at all. It pissed off enough reporters for people to flag it for the White House Correspondents Association for them to deal with it, another said. The report noted that the Biden press office has tried to draw contrasts with the Trump administration's more contentious relationship with the press corps. And Psaki makes an effort to call on every reporter at the daily briefings. Jen Psaki is good at what she does. I'm not going to pretend like she's the greatest press secretary ever, but she gives these boring, generic responses or just says, I'll circle back. It is bread and circuses, essentially. Maybe not the best way to put it. It is journalists come in, ask a nonsensical question, and she says, I'll circle back to you. And then nothing gets done. Do you really expect her to come out and tell you the truth? I love how they're like, Kayleigh McEnany and Sarah Sanders were lying all the time. Yeah, so is Jen Psaki. Jen Psaki and every one of these people are always lying. All of them always lying. Now, here's where it gets stupid. Kayleigh McEnany. Do I trust her in her work as press secretary? Of course not. But the media was lying so much that often you'd see Kayleigh McEnany pulling out this big binder and referencing factual news stories, proving the media was lying. In that capacity, she was completely right, and I do trust her. What I mean to say is, if someone comes out and says, did Donald Trump, do a backflip off a building, and the press secretary says, yes, I don't believe you. I believe the goal of the press secretary is to basically, it's positive PR for the administration. So I'm not going to take everything they say as law, okay? I'll take it with a grain of salt. That includes McEnany, that includes Psaki. But that being said, Psaki's job has been a whole lot of nothing. People are trying to be mad about it for some reason. I don't see why. She's not doing anything. You can criticize her when she goes after Steve Doocy, for instance. Or I'm sorry, it was Steve Doocy, right? Or was it Peter? I don't know. I can't remember the name of it. It's the son, not the dad. The guy from Fox News. When he was like, so a lot of union people lost their jobs. Biden says they'll get green jobs. When will that happen? She goes, can you provide me with proof they're not getting green jobs? Like, wait, what? No, they just lost their job. They just shut down Keystone. When will these new green jobs that Biden proposed to create, when will they come? She couldn't give a good answer. So she just gets adversarial with Fox News. That's the stupidity of the world we live in. That's the game we play. When it's a Republican in office, you've got but Fox News saying the president is right and everyone else is like the president is wrong. And then when a Democrat gets in office, all the journalists are like, thank you, Jen Psaki. Thank you, Democrats, for being so honest. But Fox News, you're evil. There are journalists in the press briefing. They're doing their jobs. Doocy is one of them. But when you look at what they're doing behind the scenes with trying to get access to questions, basically to stage press events, it would all be fake. That's the Biden administration for you. What they want to do is give the appearance of sane and reasonable governance. They do this so that you're distracted. They're dangling the keys over here while the hand over here is pulling the nuke button or the deploy to Syria button. They don't want you paying attention to the bad things they do. And the same was true for Trump in a lot of ways. Trump made some change to immigration law. And I was like, oh, here we go. They're going to file a lawsuit against him for this executive order in minutes. But then all of a sudden, nobody cared. Why? Because Trump tweeted derogatory things about the squad. And then all of a sudden, nobody cared. Nobody cared about the immigration stuff. The goal is always keep the people in the press distracted and do other things. Now we have this. The goal of the press secretary, why she wants to get the questions in advance, is so that she can craft answers because she doesn't know. And she'll want to be able to put on a show and make sure she can't face a hard rebuttal. Kayleigh McEnany, what did she do? She just brought all of the data, all the research, and all the news stories with her. So if it ever came up, she would go, give me a second. She'd fan through and then say, aha, got it right here. You're lying. Jen Psaki just says, just give me the questions in advance. I can't be bothered to do any of that kind of work. They went on to say, our goal is to make the daily briefing as useful and informative as possible for both reporters and the public, a spokesperson said. A part of meeting that objective means regularly engaging with the reporters who will be in the briefing room. Yeah, engaging like in bed, like you're like the deputy press secretary and this other reporter who then comes out and writes puff pieces. You know what, man? They want to complain about Donald Trump. They screamed and they cried. There's one article where they're like, it was much like storming the beaches of Omaha to liberate France, covering the Trump administration because these people are psychopaths. That's not what it was like at all. Writing on this stuff is not difficult. But they want to pretend they're heroes. heroes of democracy, when in reality, they're the bishops for oligopoly. We don't live in a democracy. First of all, we never did. It's a constitutional republic with democratically elected representatives. But more importantly, it's an oligopoly. The powerful special interests control everything. Everybody knows it. That's why they protest. And then the media tries to convince you that voting matters, that you will have a chance, and that the people you elect. And let me make something clear. Donald Trump did win in 2016. Voting definitely matters to get somebody in. But will that person actually make the moves you want them to make? Well, according to a study that was put out in 2014, the answer is no. Rich people, the wealthy elites, these people, these crooked, corrupt cronies, they put out fake news to manipulate you. They pre-screen all the questions. They did it for Hillary Clinton. They're doing it now, or at least they're trying to. It's an illusion. They want you to think they care about what you think, but they don't. They care about what their corporate overlords think. These massive multinational corporations are part of the problem. I can't tell you what the Democrats are actually fighting against at this point because they're pro-corporate and pro-government. So I suppose when you get that lucrative merger of corporation and state, the only thing we can do is call them fascists. How about that? Well, I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.